As you read the Bible, you find that one of the characteristics of servants of God is that they're able to look around them and see abundance where others see scarcity. A man comes to Elisha bearing the first fruits of his crop that include 20 loaves of barley and some fresh ears of grain. And when Elisha commands him to give it to the people to eat, the man sees scarcity. How can I set this before 100 people? He did the math. 20 loaves, some fresh ears, 100 people? No way on earth this small amount of food will feed so many people. A large crowd gathered around Jesus on a hill by the Sea of Galilee. Because Passover is approaching, Jesus asks what they are, where they are to buy bread for the crowd to eat. And the disciples look around and see scarcity. First, Philip responds, 6 months' wages wouldn't buy enough. And Andrew's a little better, but not much. There's a boy here with 5 loaves and 2 fish, but what are they among so many? And they too can do the math. This time, 5,000 are hungry. There simply isn't enough food to go around. Now, skeptics think like that. 9-year-old Danny came bursting out of his Sunday school class like a wild animal. And after a quick search, he grabbed his daddy by the leg and yelled, "Man, that story of Moses and all those people crossing the Red Sea was great." His father looked down and smiled and asked the boy to tell him about it. "Well, the Israelites got out of Egypt, but Pharaoh and his army chased after them. So the Jews ran as fast as they could until they got to the Red Sea, and the Egyptian army was getting closer and closer. So Moses got on his walkie-talkie and told the Israeli Air Force to bomb the Egyptians. And while that was happening, the Israeli Navy built a pontoon bridge so that people could cross over it, and they made it." And by now, old Dad was shocked. "Is that the way they taught you the story?" "Well, no, not exactly," Danny admitted. "But Dad, if I told you the way they told us, you'd never believe it." Now, with childlike innocence, that little boy put his finger on the pulse of our adult world, where cool skepticism reigns. It's becoming increasingly more and more popular to operate in the black and white world of facts, and of course to leave no space for the miraculous. Skeptics think like that. Nothing ever changes. Take any of the sciences. We operate strictly on the basis of facts. Hard, immutable, stubborn facts. Absolute, unbending, undeniable. Jesus, what do you mean give them something to eat? We only have 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish. Those are the facts. 5 and 2. No more, no less. Send the 5,000 people home. We can't take care of them. It's not that Elisha and Jesus don't see the numbers of hungry people needing to be fed. It's that they see more. They see God at work in what they do have, in and through the food that is available. They see abundance. It's the abundance of God that feeds all who are hungry, with plenty left over. So which do you see? Scarcity or abundance? I was watching the opening ceremony of the Olympics the other night. How many of you saw that? Most of you? And during the Parade of Nations, they kept pointing out how small some of the contingents were. Some of the nations had only 2 or 3 athletes. But how do you think those nations felt watching their flag enter the stadium? And how do you think the athletes felt? How proud they felt to represent their country. Do you think they cared there was only 2 of them? No, they were grateful to be there and to raise their flag just as high as every other nation in the world. As you know, the last 2 Sundays I was with our youth at the National Youth Gathering of the ELCA. And most of the congregations that sent youth to the gathering only sent 2 or 3 kids. But when they come from all over the country, from thousands of congregations, together we massed 35,000 Lutherans in New Orleans. We increased our population by 10%. We did hundreds of service projects to make it a little better place. Imagine each day 11,000 kids working at once. And each town that sent only 2 or 3 or 17 made that possible. Seeing abundance where others see scarcity is a way of being. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." He also said that when he had a meeting with his engineers to brainstorm a new idea, he'd put out a sign that said, "Check your slide rules at the door." He did that because whenever he presented a problem, somebody would always take out their slide ruler and say, "Can't be done." But without their slide rules, they'd always seem to find a way. Facts only got in the way. Now, for those of you who don't know what a slide ruler is, ask our grandparents. That's what I had to do. Now, Mother Teresa, she had a dream. I have 3 pennies and a dream from God to build an orphanage. Mother Teresa, her superiors shouted her, "You can't build an orphanage with 3 pennies. With 3 pennies, you can't do anything." "I know," she said, smiling, "but with God and 3 pennies, I can do anything." And she did build that orphanage, and many, many more. I recently heard about a little girl who died in a tenement house in Philadelphia around 1900. When they moved her body, they found a second-hand purse with 57 cents inside, and a little note that read, "This is to help build the little church bigger, so more children can go to Sunday school." When the pastor read that note, he knew right then what he had to do. Carrying the note to the pulpit, he told the story of her unselfish gift. He challenged the deacons to get busy and raise enough money for a larger building. But the story doesn't end there. A newspaper learned of the story and published it. And it was read by a realtor who offered them a parcel of land worth thousands of dollars. And when told that the church couldn't pay that much, he offered it to them for 57 cents. Well, church members made large donations and checks came in from far and wide. Within 5 years, the little girl's 57 cents had grown to $250,000. A huge amount of money in 1900. Her unselfish gift had multiplied. And the legacy of her gift is still there in Philadelphia. It's there in Temple Baptist Church with a seating capacity of 3,300. And Temple University, where hundreds of students are trained. And it's there in Good Samaritan Hospital and in the Sunday school building that she asked for, which houses hundreds of children. Which goes to show what God can do with 57 cents. I pray that as God gives you dreams for the future, for your lives, and for this church, you won't take out your slide rulers. You won't count Mother Teresa's 3 pennies, or the little girl's 57 cents, or Elisha's 20 loaves and ears of grain, or Jesus' 5 loaves and 2 fish. In the words of St. Paul, I pray that you may have the power to comprehend with all the saints what is the true breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, so that you may be filled with the fullness of God. Now to him who by the power at work within us is able to accomplish abundantly far more than all we can ask or imagine. To him be the glory, to all generations, forever and ever. A gift that's far more than we can ask or imagine. even in July. I think that's the heart of Christmas. Amen.